There's been a dramatic turn of events in 2022 polling over the last couple of months, and I don't want to overstate this, but I also don't want to ignore this story because when 3, 4 months ago I was saying, guys, listen, everyone must vote and we have to do everything, fight for every seat, all of these things, but it's not looking great for Democrats in 2022. I think Democrats will lose the House. I think Democrats will lose the Senate. Some of you wrote to me and said, David, why are you writing it off? You should just say we can win it. I was like, well, I'm not writing it off. I'm just telling you what the polling is, and I'm being realistic. The polling has reversed dramatically, and Democrats are now ahead of Republicans in 3 recent polls looking at a generic 2022 ballot. A generic 2022 ballot means regardless of where you are, do you plan to vote for the Democrat or for the Republican? This is not normal, okay? And again, now there's the risk of another unintended consequence of mentioning this, which is if I say, oh, Democrats are doing great now, then people will say, well, I don't need to vote. I don't quite frankly think this show is big enough to have that much of an effect one way or the other, but we all must vote, but we should understand the numbers. 3 new polls in a new Marist poll in a congressional ballot, Democrats 48, Republicans 41. That's a +7 for Democrats. That's a big, big deal. In a new Politico Morning Consult poll, Democrats 45, Republicans 42. That's +3 for Democrats. And then in a new Yahoo News YouGov poll, Democrats 45, Republicans 38. That's +7 for Democrats. Why are these numbers such a big deal? There's 2 reasons. Number one, this is not typically what you see when one party has taken the White House in the previous election. In 2020, Democrats took the White House from Republicans. Biden beat Trump. You all know that. And typically, almost always, with like 3 exceptions, when that happens, you would expect Republicans to do really well in the first midterms, which would be 4.5 months from now in November. So number one, the fact that the numbers differ from that traditional historical reality is a really big deal. But the second reason that it's a really big deal is this is not the way the numbers looked just 3 months ago. And I think that we can all sort of take a cynical approach here and say, this is temporary. It'll go back to Republicans crushing Democrats by November. Well, it's not obvious to me, but one of the things we've been talking about now for about 2 months is, are there unique circumstances in this election that make it potentially okay for Democrats when Republicans should be winning? And I say that the answer is yes. This is not a guarantee of anything. I'm still getting lots of people on Twitter saying, David, you loser. Some of them say worse things than that. Republicans are going to crush Democrats in November. Just wait and see. Well, maybe. But there are some different circumstances here. First of all, normally when we say, oh, Democrats can win by running on abortion rights. No, that historically, that's not a good issue for Democrats to run on. It's not a winning issue. It's not a voting issue for Democrats. It's the type of issue that will motivate Republicans to come out to vote against a pro-choice candidate. Typically, that's the way it is. This time around, it looks like it could be different. Americans are more in favor of abortion being legal in most cases than at any time over the last 50 years. So public opinion is different now than it has been on abortion. And in addition to that, Republican Trump nominated Supreme Court justices have overturned Roe v. Wade, something which 2/3 of Americans are in disagreement with. That is different. And that means in this election, that situation could make it better for Democrats, particularly if they say we're the ones trying to keep these rights, whether it's credible or not, that's what Democrats are going to do. Secondly, normally running on gun safety regulation is a losing issue for Democrats. We've talked about it before. We've talked about it with a number of political strategists. When Democrats make gun safety regulations a big part of their campaign, it doesn't really motivate Democrats to come out and vote for them, but it does motivate Republicans to come out and vote against them. However, the rash of school and other mass shootings in the United States over the last 3 months, and just tragic numbers, hundreds of mass shootings in the United States in 2022 so far, seem to have tired out and exhausted many Americans about the Republican Party's unwillingness to consider serious gun safety regulations. And so you have a situation where in this particular midterm, it might actually work for Democrats to run on gun safety and on abortion rights. So that's different than normal. The other element that is different than normal in these midterms is that we are coming up against the tail end of this 6-year Trumpian cycle. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Normally, you have a sort of relatively similar electorate throughout 3 elections. So like if you look at, I don't know, 2000, 2002, and 2004 as an example, the electorate, George W. Bush won the presidency in 2000, and then you had the 2002 midterms, and Bush won re-election in 2004. There was no major change to the electorate in the year 2000, which then had to sort of sort itself out in 2002 and in 2004. It was a very similar electorate, okay? That is not the case right now. In 2016, you had all of these formerly non-political, non-voting people who were enamored with Trump, a lot of low information voters, a lot of extremists of different kinds, people who were clueless. These people were not participating in politics before 2016. They appeared in 2016. And then in 2018, some of them voted in the midterms. And then in 2020, they were still around and trying to get Trump reelected. And now Trump's gone. And there's a real question as to, do these Trumpists vote in midterms where now Trump isn't even a candidate and Trump is less visible and so many other things are going on? Or do those people that only entered the political space thanks to Trump's presence, do they just kind of go back to whatever they were doing before? I don't know what that is, but it didn't include voting. We don't know the answer to that, but it's potentially something that will really change the makeup of the 2022 midterm electorate. So do I have a definitive answer? I don't. But when we see Republicans were winning every generic ballot 3 months ago, Democrats are now winning every generic ballot, that is a major change and potentially significant. So I'm not ready to count out Democrats in 2022, but we must vote. We must get involved in campaigns, phone banking, all of it. And we'll be doing everything we can to cover these, the important races and the midterms at large.